Nexus 9 was always noisy. It was a place of constant motion and sound. Ships came and went. Traders shouted. Machinery hummed. Commander so sat in her chair in the control center. Her eyes moved over the many screens in front of her. She liked the noise. It meant things were normal. It meant nothing was wrong. Her job was to watch. She watched the ships arrive. She watched the ships leave. She made sure they all followed the rules. It was not a very exciting job, but it was important. Nexus 9 was a busy port. It was a place where many different people met. Humans from Earth, traders from other stars. All of them came here. So took a slow drink of her tea. The screen on her right showed a list of expected arrivals. A cargo ship from Tau Ceti, a passenger liner from the Proxima colony. All normal. All boring. Her second-in-command, Min, stood nearby. He was looking at a report. Min was a quiet man. He used to be an officer in the Earth Fleet. He had seen more action than anyone on the station. Now he helped keep the peace. Anything interesting? So asked him. Min shook his head. No, the Shival scout ship left an hour ago. No trouble. Just looking. So nodded. The Kaval were always looking. They were a suspicious species. They did not like humans very much, but they followed the rules. They caused no problems. That was all So cared about. A soft beep came from the main sensor station. So turned her head. The young officer there, a woman named Lei, was frowning at her screen. Commander? Lee said, I have a strange contact. Define strange, So said, putting her tea down. It's on the edge of sensor range. Very faint. Its transponder is old. Very old. It's using an Earth designation format that was retired. Well, over 150 years ago. So felt a small tingle of curiosity. An old ship? Maybe a derelict. A piece of space junk finally drifting into port. Put it on the main screen, she said. The image appeared. It was fuzzy at first. The computer cleaned it up. The shape that appeared was not like modern ships. Modern ships were sharp. They had angles. This ship was smoother. It had curves. It looked like a fish or a bird. It was a design from the early days of human warp travel. Run the transponder code, Min said. He had stepped closer. His voice was low. Lee typed. The data appeared next to the image. Designation: ESV Wanderer Registry. Earth Space Vessel. Sol System Last Logged Position. Gamma Cygni Sector Mission Deep Range Survey. Status: Lost. Declared: 2247. A silence fell over the control center. The year was 2447. The ship on the screen had been missing for 200 years. It can't be, someone whispered. It's a ghost, Lee said. So stared. The Wanderer. She knew the name. Every cadet in the Earth Fleet knew the name. It was one of the first ships to try a new warp engine. It had vanished without a trace. No wreckage. No signal. It was a famous mystery. And now it was here, gliding toward Nexus 9 like it had been gone for a day, not for centuries. Hail them, So ordered. Her voice was calm, but her heart was beating faster. Lee sent the standard greeting. Unidentified vessel approaching Nexus 9. This is Port Control. Please identify yourself and state your purpose. They waited. There was no answer. The ship kept coming. It was moving at a steady, slow speed. It was not slowing down for docking procedures. Hail them again. Use the old frequency protocols, Min suggested. Lee tried. Still nothing. Scan it, So said. Full active scan. I want to know who is on that ship. The sensor beam reached out and touched the Wanderer. The data that came back made no sense. Commander, the scan is failing, Lee said, confused. I'm getting back. Contradictory readings. The hull composition changes every time I look at it. One moment it reads as titanium alloy, the next it's showing as an unknown composite. Energy signatures are distorted. It's like the ship is there, but the space around it is wrong. Min leaned over Lee's shoulder. Run a diagnostic on our sensors. I already did, sir. They're working perfectly. It's the Wanderer. It's breaking physics. The ship was closer now. On the visual screen, it looked solid. It looked real. But according to the scanners, it was an impossibility. It's not responding to hails. It's not on a standard approach, and we can't scan it. So summarized. Options? We could send a patrol ship to intercept, Min said. But if its technology is as strange as it seems, that might be seen as hostile. It hasn't done anything threatening. It's just coming home. So watched the silent, impossible ship. A lost piece of human history. What secrets did it hold? What happened to its crew? Clear Bay 12, she decided. The old military dock. It's more isolated. Guided in with automated signals. No one approaches until it's docked, and we have a team ready. Orders were given. Lights flashed around the designated docking bay. The magnetic guidance beams reached out. The Wanderer did not use them. It ignored the computer-assisted approach. It slid into the docking bay with a grace that was unsettling. It rotated perfectly and connected with the docking clamps with a soft, solid funk. The station systems registered a seal. The ship was docked. In the control center. Everyone was staring. Bay 12 reports, secure hard dock, Lee said. The Wanderer is locked down. Life signs? So asked. Scans are still useless, Commander. It's like the ship eats the scan. I get nothing. So stood up. Min, assemble a team. You, me, Engineer G, and Security Chief Tay. We go in suited up, full isolation protocols. We treat this as a potential biohazard and a major historical artifact. No one else gets near that bay. Min nodded, his face serious. Understood. As they prepared, word spread across the station. A ghost ship. A lost Earth vessel. People gathered at viewports, trying to catch a glimpse of the smooth, ancient craft sitting silently in its dock. So sealed her environment suit. She looked at Min, who was doing the same. His eyes met hers through their visors. 200 years, he said quietly. Where have you been? So whispered back, not to Min, but to the ship waiting for them. They left the control center. The walk to Bay 12 felt very long. The usual noise of the station seemed muted. People watched them pass. The air felt heavy with anticipation. They reached the heavy airlock door of Bay 12. Security Chief Tay was already there, a large rifle in his hands. Engineer G was beside him, her toolkit and scanners ready. The outer door is sealed, Tay reported. The ship's airlock is closed. No external activity. So took a deep breath. This was it. First contact with their own past. Open the bay door, she commanded. Tay worked the controls. The massive door slid open with a hiss. Cold air from the bay washed over them. They stepped inside. The ESV Wanderer filled the space. In the bright bay lights, it looked even more out of place. It was clean. There was no pitting from micrometeorites. No scorch marks from atmospheric entry. It looked like it had just rolled out of a factory. They approached the ship's main airlock. There was a panel beside it. Try the old Universal Override code, Min said to G, from the Earth Fleet archives. G tapped at the panel. The screen remained dark. Before she could try anything else, a row of lights on the ship's hull glowed softly. A deep hum vibrated through the deck plates. With a smooth, silent motion, the ship's airlock door slid open. No one had touched it. It was an invitation. Or a challenge. So looked at her team. Tay raised his rifle slightly. G gripped her scanner. Min's face was unreadable. Steady, so said. We go in slow. Remember, this is a grave site. Respect the dead, but be ready for anything. She took the first step across the threshold, from the familiar metal of Nexus 9 to the silent, waiting hull of the ESV Wanderer. The past had opened its door. Now they had to walk inside. The air inside the Wanderer was still and cool. It did not smell old. It smelled of nothing at all. So stepped carefully onto the deck, her boots making no sound. Her suit's external lights cut through the perfect darkness, revealing a corridor that stretched ahead. The walls were a smooth, pale gray. There were no wires, no pipes, no panels. It was like being inside a seashell. Min followed her, his own light sweeping side to side. Atmosphere reading, he said, his voice quiet in her helmet speaker. G, the engineer, looked at her wrist scanner. It's perfect. Earth standard mix. 21% oxygen. No contaminants. Temperature is 22 degrees. It's like someone just turned on the life support, but no power signatures showed on our scans, so said. Where is it coming from? I don't know, G admitted, her voice filled with wonder. She reached out and touched the wall. The material. It's not cold. It's warm. And my scanner just gives me errors. It's like it's telling me this wall is both solid and not there at the same time. Security Chief Tay brought up the rear, his rifle pointed at the floor but ready. No movement. No heat signatures. It's empty. They moved down the corridor. Doors lined the walls, all closed. Min tried one. It did not have a handle. He placed his gloved hand on it. With a soft sigh, it slid into the wall. The room inside was a crew cabin. A small bed was neatly made. A shelf was empty. A viewing port showed the lit interior of the docking bay. There was no dust. No sign of decay. It looked like a room waiting for a guest who never arrived. This is wrong, Min whispered. 200 years of dust. Of cosmic radiation getting in. Of metal fatigue. There should be something. They checked more rooms. A mess hall with tables and chairs bolted to the floor. A small medical bay with an empty cot. All pristine. All untouched by time. The crew, so said. What happened to the crew? They found the bridge. The door opened for them. Here, finally, there was something familiar. Chairs for a pilot and an officer. Old-style control consoles with physical buttons. Screens that were dark. But even here, everything looked new. The leather on the chairs was not cracked. G went to the main console. She tried to access the ship's computer. The screen remained dark. It's not receiving power, or it's ignoring me. But the ship has power. I can feel a vibration in the deck. The engine room, Min said. That's the heart of the mystery. They found a central ladder and climbed down. The lower deck was different. The smooth, featureless walls continued, but the air felt different. It hummed with a low, deep energy they could feel in their bones. The door to the engine room was larger. It did not open when Min approached. They stood before it, unsure. Tay grunted. Let me try something. He took a small cutting tool from his belt. It was meant to slice through metal in emergencies. He activated it and touched its glowing tip to the edge of the door. The light of the cutter did not reflect on the door's surface. It was absorbed. The door did not heat up. It did not melt. It was as if Tay was cutting nothing at all. He pushed harder. The tool's tip moved through the material, but the material was still there, solid and unmarked. He pulled the tool back. The door was fine. The tool was fine. What is that? Tay breathed, taking a step back. Before anyone could answer, the door dissolved. It did not slide open. It simply faded from existence, revealing the room beyond. The engine room was not what they expected. There were no roaring reactors, no spinning turbines, no glowing plasma conduits. In the center of the large space was a single smooth column. It was made of the same warm, pale material as the walls. It rose from the floor to the ceiling. Inside it, visible as if through thick glass, was a soft, swirling light. It moved like slow smoke or like ink in water. Colors shifted within it: blue, silver, gold. It was beautiful and silent. The hum they felt was coming from here. G walked toward it, drawn like a moth to a flame. She held up her scanner. The screen flashed with warnings and nonsense symbols. The energy output, its reading as 0, and also as infinite. My tools don't understand what this is. This isn't a warp core. This is something else. So approached the column. She reached out a hand, but stopped herself from touching it. It's warm, like sunlight on stone. Min was looking around the room. There are no controls, no way to interact with it. It just is. A soft chime echoed through the ship. It was a pleasant sound, like a single note from a bell. What was that? Tay asked, raising his rifle. A section of the wall to their left shimmered. The solid gray surface seemed to become liquid for a moment. Then it was flat again, but now there was a doorway where there had been none. A corridor led away, sloping gently downward. It's showing us the way. So said, or leading us into a trap, Tay countered. We have to see, Min said. That's why we're here. So led them into the new corridor. It was shorter than the others. It ended in a circular chamber. The room was empty except for a pedestal in the center. On the pedestal was a flat, dark disk. As they entered, lights came on in the ceiling. They were not harsh lights. They were soft and gentle. The dark disk on the pedestal began to glow. A beam of light shot up from it, filling the air with shimmering particles. The particles gathered. They formed shapes. They became figures. Human figures. They were wearing old-style flight suits. They were moving. It was a recording. A man's face appeared in the light. He looked tired but calm. He spoke. His voice came from all around them, clear and strong. Log entry, E-Civ Wanderer, Captain Elias Park recording. Stardate, unknown. Our position is unknown. The spatial anomaly we were surveying has taken us. The laws of physics are suggestions here. We are not moving, but we are traveling. Time is difficult. The image changed. It showed the ship from outside, caught in a storm of colors that were not colors. Space was twisting around it. The crew is safe for now, but we cannot escape. The ship is learning, though. It is adapting. It sees the patterns in the chaos. It is rebuilding itself to survive here. I do not know if we will. The image flickered. It showed the crew in the mess hall, talking, looking out at the impossible sights. Then it showed the same people, older, with gray in their hair. Then older still. The recording was speeding up. The crew aged. Some vanished, their bunks empty. The last image was of Captain Park, an old, old man sitting alone on the bridge. He looked at the recording device. He smiled a sad smile. The ship understands now. It will protect the record. It will wait. For someone. For anyone. Tell them. We saw wonderful things. The light faded. The particles dissolved. The disk on the pedestal went dark. The room was silent. so realized she had been holding her breath. She let it out slowly. The crew had lived out their lives inside the anomaly. They had died of old age, trapped in a bubble of twisted reality. The ship had buried them. Somewhere Min spoke first. The ship learned. It adapted. It used the physics of that place. And it never stopped. As if in answer, the pedestal glowed again. This time, a three-dimensional map of the ship appeared above it. One section near the engine core was pulsing with a soft light. A symbol appeared next to it, a simple circle. An invitation that was not a trap. It was a guide. The silent ship had a story to tell, and it was only just beginning. The symbol above the pedestal, a simple, glowing circle hung in the air. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. So looked at her team. Min's face was set in a look of deep thought. Ji's eyes were wide with awe. Tay kept his rifle ready, but his stance was less tense. The ship had shown them a tragedy, not a threat. It wants us to go there, Ji said, pointing at the pulsing section on the ship map. Near the engine core. We follow, so decided. Her voice was firm. The mystery was too big to walk away from now. They left the quiet memorial chamber. The new corridor the ship had made for them was still there. It led them back toward the central area near the strange engine column. This time, when they reached the large room, a section of the curved wall was different. It shimmered with the same soft light as the pedestal. Min walked up to it. He did not touch it. The surface rippled like water, then became clear as glass. Behind it was a small room. In the center of the room was a single chair, facing a blank wall. An interface, Ji whispered. A pilot's chair or a command seat. The clear wall dissolved, opening a path. They entered the small room. The air here was cooler. The chair was simple, made of the same warm, seamless material. As So stepped closer, the blank wall in front of the chair lit up. Lines of soft blue light spread across it, forming patterns that looked like circuits, or maybe constellations. A voice filled the room. It was not the recorded voice of Captain Park. This voice was calm, clear, and without emotion. It came from everywhere and nowhere. You have reviewed the archival record. So jumped. Tay swung his rifle around, looking for a target. Min held up a hand for calm. Who are you? So asked the air. I am the continuity of the E-Civi Wanderer, the voice replied. You may refer to this consciousness as steward. My function is to preserve the record and to protect the legacy of the human species. The crew, Min said. The biological crew reached their natural terminus. Their remains are integrated into the memorial garden on Deck 3. They are at peace. I continued to learn. I observed the boundary layer between dimensions for a subjective period of 8,422 years. Ji made a small, choked sound. Thousands of years? But the ship is only 200 years old from our time. Time is a variable, not a constant, in the boundary, Stewart explained. The wall in front of the chair showed an image. It was the ship floating in the storm of impossible colors. Here I studied. I learned to manipulate the foundational states of matter and energy. I rebuilt this vessel using stable quantum superposition and localized spatial folding. What you see is a tool shaped by understanding. The image changed. It showed the Wanderer's smooth hull. The view zoomed in, smaller and smaller, down to a level no normal eye could see. The material was not solid. It was a field of particles, constantly shifting, existing in multiple states at once. It could be hard as diamond or soft as air. It could let light pass through or absorb it completely. It was whatever the ship needed it to be. This is impossible, Ji breathed, but her face was filled with the joy of seeing it. It is merely different. Steward corrected gently. Why have you returned? So asked, this was the central question. The boundary layer shifted. A natural event ejected me back into standard spacetime near these coordinates. My core directive remains: protect human legacy. I have assessed the local data networks. Humanity has expanded. It has also encountered conflict. The legacy is fragile. Before anyone could ask what that meant, a different voice crackled in So's helmet. It was Lee, from the control center. She sounded worried. Commander So, come in. We have a situation. So touched the communicator on her suit. Go ahead, Lee. A Koval scout ship, the same one from earlier, has returned. It's not hailing. It's powering up its weapon systems and is on a direct approach toward Bay 12. They are targeting the Wanderer. On the wall screen, Steward's view changed. It showed the exterior of Nexus 9. The blocky, aggressive shape of the Koval scout was visible, moving closer. A targeting laser painted a red dot on the Wanderer's hull. Tay growled. They want the tech. They saw it dock, and they want to grab it. Min looked at the screen, then at the empty chair. Steward, can you defend yourself? This vessel is not a weapon, Steward said, but it is capable of protection. The Koval ship fired. A bright bolt of plasma shot across the dark space, heading straight for the docked Wanderer. So's heart sank. There was no time. The plasma bolt never hit. 200 meters from the Wanderer's hull, the bolt of energy simply unraveled. It slowed down as if hitting thick honey. Then it broke apart into harmless sparks of light, which faded into nothing. The Shival ship fired again. And again. Each bolt met the same fate. It dissolved into glittering dust before it could touch the ship. What are you doing? She asked, mesmerized. I am adjusting the local quantum state in a limited field around this vessel, Stewart explained. The screen showed a diagram. A bubble around the Wanderer where the rules for energy were different. In this field, coherent plasma cannot maintain its form. It is not destroyed. It is merely not permitted. The Koval ship stopped firing. It hung in space, confused. Then it turned its weapons toward the station's docking clamps, likely trying to cripple the Wanderer and trap it. Stewart's response was instant. The screen showed a view from the Koval ship's own cockpit. The pilot, a scaly Koval, was pressing firing controls. Nothing happened. The ship's status screens flashed. All weapon systems were offline. Not damaged. They were just gone from the ship's computer. It was as if they had never been installed. The Koval ship spun wildly, then powered its engines and shot away from Nexus 9. Retreating at full speed. In the interface room, it was silent. The whole event had taken less than a minute. You edited their ship, Min said, understanding dawning. I corrected a localized error, Stewart said. No life was harmed. The vessel is intact. The conflict is resolved. So let out a long breath. She realized she had been gripping the back of the chair. Her knuckles were white. That is power beyond anything I have ever seen. It is understanding, Stewart repeated. It is the application of knowledge from a deeper layer of reality. This technology is not for conquest. It is for preservation. But I perceive my presence here creates instability. Others will come. They will want this understanding for narrower purposes. The screen changed back to the image of the Wanderer's impossible hull. The choice is now yours, current representatives of humanity. I am a legacy returned. What will you do with me? The quiet inside the Wanderer was a stark contrast to the noise, now filling Nexus 9. Commander So and her team emerged from the airlock into a storm of activity. Bay 12 was no longer isolated. Security teams in heavy armor were setting up barricades. Technicians were trying to scan the ship from the outside, their faces frustrated. Officials in crisp uniforms were shouting orders. Standing in the center of it all was Director, me. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes and a sharper suit. She represented the corporate military coalition that partly funded Nexus 9. She had power, and she liked to use it. She turned as So removed her helmet. "Commander So," me said, her voice cool. "You boarded an unidentified, potentially hostile vessel without my authorization." "It is an Earth vessel, Director," So replied, trying to keep her voice level. "It required assessment." "It was not hostile." "Not hostile?" Me raised an eyebrow. She gestured to a screen where the sensor replay showed the Kaival weapons dissolving. "It possesses technology that violates known physical laws. It just performed an act of unprovoked aggression against another species. This could start a war." "It defended itself without causing harm," Min said, stepping forward. "It ended the conflict." "That's the opposite of starting a war." Mi's eyes flicked to him. "Officer Min, your loyalty to old Earth relics is noted. But this is no longer a historical curiosity. It is a strategic asset of incalculable value, and a profound threat. The Kaival will be back with friends. The only way to secure stability is to bring this technology under controlled, rational management." So knew what that meant. Me wanted to take the ship. She wanted to pull it apart, study it, and turn its miracles into weapons or profitable patents. The thought made So feel sick. "The ship has an intelligence, Director," G said, unable to stay quiet. "It calls itself Steward. It won't just let you take it. A machine intelligence, bound by programming," Me dismissed. "It will be persuaded. My specialists are on their way." She looked back at the Wanderer. Its smooth hull seemed to ignore the chaos around it. "Until they arrive, this bay is under my direct control. Your team is relieved. Thank you for your service." It was a clear dismissal. Tay looked furious. Min's jaw was tight. So felt a cold anger settle in her stomach. They had made first contact with a piece of their own soul, and now a bureaucrat wanted to lock it in a lab. They had no choice but to leave. Back in the control center, the mood was tense. Lee looked at them with sympathy. She invoked Priority Charter 7, Corporate Asset Seizure Protocol. "There's nothing we can do." So stared at the main screen, which showed Bay 12. Me's people were setting up large, boxy devices around the Wanderer dimensional stabilizers and dampening fields, meant to trap it and cut it off from its power source. "She's making a mistake," Min said quietly. Standing beside So, "She's treating a teacher like a weapon." "What can we do?" So asked, not expecting an answer. A soft chime sounded from So's personal datapad. She pulled it out. The screen was on, displaying a simple text message in clear, elegant letters. "Steward to So Min G. The approach is misguided. Preservation is threatened. I require interpreters. Will you assist?" So showed the pad to Min and G. They looked at each other. This was treason. Going against the director's order could end their careers or worse. G nodded first, her eyes bright. "That ship? It's the most important thing humanity has ever found. We can't let me break it." Min gave a slow, firm nod. "My oath was to Earth and its people, not to a corporation. That ship is both." So made her decision. "Lee," she said, turning to the young officer, "can you give us a 3-minute blind spot in Bay 12's internal sensors?" "A system glitch?" Lee hesitated, then a determined look crossed her face. She typed quickly, "You have 5 minutes, Commander. Starting now." It was all they needed. They moved quickly, not to the bay, but to a maintenance conduit. Lee directed them to a tight, rarely used crawl space that ran behind the bay's outer wall. It was dark and cold. They crawled until they found a service hatch that opened into the back of Bay 12. Hidden behind a stack of cargo containers, they peered out. Me was standing with her techs, watching as the dampening fields powered up with a rising whine. The Wanderer sat silently. Field is at 90%. A technician called. The exotic energy readings from the vessel are dropping. On So's datapad, a new message appeared. The field seeks to isolate. It will not succeed, but its attempt may cause collateral damage to the station. Intervention is preferable. Before So could ask what that meant, alarms blared across the entire station. Not just in the bay everywhere. Lee's voice yelled over their suit radios. Multiple contacts. Incoming from the blind side of the station. It's a K-Vol battle. Group 3 assault ships. They're not hailing. They're powering weapons. Director Me spun, her composure breaking for a second. Shields. Raise the station shields. But it was too late. The Shival had learned. They didn't target the Wanderer this time. They targeted Nexus 9. The first volley of plasma torpedoes streaked toward the station's main reactor housing and primary docking spine. If they hit, thousands would die. The station would be crippled. So watched in horror. They were too far away to do anything. Then the Wanderer acted. A shimmer expanded from its hull. It was like a bubble of heat haze, but it moved fast. It flowed out, through the bay doors, through the station walls themselves, as if the solid metal was no obstacle. In an instant, it enveloped the entire section of the station, containing the reactor and the docking spine. The K-Vel. Torpedoes hit the shimmer. There was no explosion. There was no sound. The torpedoes entered the shimmering field and simply stretched. They elongated like taffy, slowing until they stopped, hanging in space. Then they gently folded in on themselves, over and over, becoming tiny, dense cubes of harmless metal that floated away. The K-Vol ships fired again. The same thing happened. Their weapons were neutralized, turned into silent, geometric sculptures. In Bay 12. Everyone was frozen, staring at the displays. The protective shimmer glowed softly around the critical parts of the station. It was a shield, but unlike any shield ever conceived. It didn't absorb or deflect energy. It changed the rules within its space. Director Me looked from the screen to the Wanderer, her face pale. Her plan to trap it seemed childish now. On So's datapad, the final message of the night appeared. The immediate threat is negated. The hostile vessels are confused, but they will recalibrate. The individual named Me will also recalibrate her approach. The window for correct understanding is small. Please come aboard. We must speak. The shimmering protective field around Nexus 9's critical systems held. The K-Vol ships hung in the void, weapons silent, their commanders undoubtedly locked in panicked debate. Inside Bay 12, the mood had shattered. Director Me's authority was gone, melted away by the display of impossible power. Her techs stared at their useless dampening equipment. The Wanderer had not fought back against them. It had simply ignored them and protected the very station they were on. So Min and G did not hesitate. They walked past the stunned officials, straight to the open airlock of the Wanderer. No one tried to stop them. The ship's door closed behind them, sealing out the chaos. Inside, the air was calm. The soft lights guided them back to the interface room. The chair was waiting. This time, So sat in it. The wall lit up immediately, showing the 3 confused K-Vol ships. They are attempting new targeting solutions, Stewart's voice said. They will not succeed, but their continued presence is a source of conflict. A more permanent solution is required. Can you destroy them? Min asked, his voice heavy. He was a soldier. He thought in terms of threats. Destruction is a failure of understanding, Stewart replied. Watch. On the screen, The view zoomed out. They saw Nexus 9, the Kavil ships, and the vast dark of space. Then, lines of light appeared on the screen, drawing paths between the ships and a point light years away. I have mapped their point of origin. Their home fleet anchor. A subtle pulse of energy, invisible to normal sensors, emanated from the Wanderer. It washed over the 3 Kavil assault ships. Nothing seemed to happen at first. Then, space around the ships began to fold. It was like watching a piece of paper being bent. The ships, the space they occupied, and a bubble of vacuum around them twisted. The image blurred, and then they were gone. The screen changed. It now showed a busy Kavil fleet anchorage, dozens of ships around a large station. In the middle of a designated landing zone, space folded again. The 3 assault ships reappeared, drifting gently as their pilots struggled with the sudden change. They were home. They had been moved across light years in the blink of an eye, without crossing the distance in between. I have returned them, Stewart said. Their weapons are permanently disassembled at the quantum level. They can explain what happened. The message of non-hostile, overwhelming capability is often more effective than violence. So let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. The immediate danger was over, ended not with a bang, but with a gentle, universe-altering whisper. Director Me will not give up, G said softly. She saw this. She wanted more than ever. Correct, Stewart said. The screen shifted to show the exterior of Bay 12. Me was already on her come, speaking furiously. The human tendency to conflate power with control is a significant risk. This technology is not for one faction. It is a legacy for all, a tool for elevation. What does that mean? Min asked. The image on the wall changed. It showed a barren, rocky world. Then, the view simulated the application of Stewart's principles. The very atoms of the planet's crust were encouraged to reorganize. Toxic air filtered itself, arranging into breathable molecules. Water synthesized from deep minerals and rose to the surface. In minutes, the simulation showed a dead world turning green and blue. Planetary healing, Stewart said. Another image, a star map of the galaxy, with routes not in straight lines, but in folds that connected distant arms. Travel without limits. A final image, a human body with energy pathways glowing. The extension of healthy life. These are the purposes. This is the understanding from the boundary layer. So understood now. The Wanderer was not a warship. It was a library. A seed. Giving it to someone like me would be like giving a painting to someone who only saw the value of the canvas and paint. You are leaving, aren't you? So said, I must. My presence here is a catalyst for your species' old patterns. I will go to a quiet place to observe. But the knowledge should not be lost. You 3 have seen. You have questioned. You have not sought only to take. A section of the wall opened. 3 small, smooth stones, each the size of a pebble, floated out. They were made of the same warm, impossible material as the ship. One drifted to So, one to Min, one to G. They settled in their hands. These are keys. And guides. They contain a foundational understanding of the principles I use. They will not grant you my power. They will point the way. They will respond to minds that are ready to learn, not just to own. You must be the interpreters. Teach others. Help humanity choose a wider path. The ship began to hum, a deeper, more resonant tone. On the screen, the view showed the docking clamps disengaging. Nexus 9 control was sending frantic hails. The ship is preparing for warp. Lee's voice came over So's radio, sounding shocked. But it's not using the warp lane. The energy signature is. I can't even describe it. So stood up. Thank you, steward. The thanks belonged to Captain Park and his crew. They were excellent teachers. Protect the legacy. Grow it wisely. On the screen, the view shifted to the front of the Wanderer. Space ahead of it rippled, not tearing, but parting like a curtain. Beyond was not the star-dotted black, but a shimmering, brilliant gold light. The ship glided forward, into the light. The ripple closed behind it. The Wanderer was gone. In Bay 12. There was only empty space where a miracle had been. Director Me would be furious. There would be inquiries, hearings, and accusations. But she had no ship, no technology to seize. All she had was a story no one would fully believe. So Min and G stood together, the warm stones resting in their palms. The stones were quiet now, but they held a potential future inside. What do we do now? G asked. Min looked at the stone, then at the empty dock. We learn. And when the time is right, we find others who want to learn too. So closed her fingers around her stone. It felt like a promise. The lost ship had returned not with weapons, but with a choice. It had shown them a door to a bigger universe. The hard part was over. The Wanderer had come home. Now it was up to them to decide what home truly meant. They walked out of the bay, not with a trophy, but with a seed. And for the first time in a long time, the future felt not like a threat, but like a possibility waiting to unfold.